going on, everybody? I'm Vinny Costa, editor of Street Muscle Magazine and your host of the RodCAST, the all-encompassing car show where we talk about all things automotive. And today, I'm joined by my co-host, Greg Acosta, editor of Engine Labs and the all-around tech guru. What's going on, Greg?
Hey, Vinny, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm great. I'm fantastic. How are you?
That's really good. Good, great, fantastic. Damn. I need some of what you're drinking. Shit.
It's called the triple threat. But yeah, so I'm excited today. We're finally going to have a guest on who we've talked about since the inception of the RodCAST, but it just hasn't happened for whatever reason, scheduling conflicts, what have you. But we have someone in-house, sort of, since we're all working from home.
That's a loaded term to use anymore, huh?
Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, no, we're graced by the presence of one of our own, super funny guy around the office, fantastic at what he does. He runs Off-Road Xtreme, one of Automedia's many titles. His name's David Chick, personal friend of mine, and I'm glad to have him on.
Oops, I'm getting him.
Hello.
There we go.
What's going on, David? How are you, man?
What's up, Vinny? Thank you for that introduction. I felt so touched.
You should. Well, easy. No, we're happy to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming on and making some time to do this. I know that you're super busy. You got a bunch of installs going on right now. You got a bunch of features that you're writing and shooting. I know you're continually busy, but you're here, man, on the RodCAST.
I'm here. I made it.
How are you holding up during this whole thing, man? You passing the time well, and I'm sure work keeps you busy, but I trust that you're doing well.
Thanks. Yeah, doing good. Keeping the magazine up to date as much as I can, and working on delivering some more features here pretty soon, some more tech, and just keeping our fans up to date with the latest and greatest in off-road.
You know, David, I'm like continually impressed with your methods for doing things, because they differ from mine quite a bit. And I remember when I first started with the company, I would watch what you were doing, and I thought it was really cool because it was a bit of a departure. And I thought maybe it was just because it was, part of the off-road segment, like that's how you guys do things. But the more I do this, the more I realize that, there's just more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. And I like some of the things that you do. One of those things is the way that you review things. You have a lot of reviews on Off-Road Xtreme, whether that's a complete vehicle review, like a new model, or a product review. You're very thorough. How do you develop your I guess, like scientific method or what have you?
So I guess just the approach I got was wisdom that I got from a former editor at Off-Road Xtreme, Douglas Fornash. He used to work back in like 2015. Shout out, Doug, if you're watching this. He kind of gave me the bare bones on like how to look at like a tire review, how to look at like a truck review. You want to focus on the exterior, the drivetrain, the interior, any features and benefits, and just kind of get like a 360-degree view of the truck, inside, outside, what powers it, and just get your own spin in there about what you think of each of these aspects. And I thought that was always like a very thorough approach, and I've adopted it since, and it's carried me, over the years. And I've always tried to impart that kind of knowledge onto the readers by just, giving them the full Monty on the truck. Like, here's what I think about it, and here's factually what it powers, in terms of like horsepower and torque and all that other kind of stuff. And just be realistic with your audience, and they'll treat you with respect, and keep reading. Yeah,
definitely, man. And it's earned my respect for sure. You have a knack for being impartial, which I really appreciate. I think I have it written down right here. Yeah, the last one that you did was part of your tire buyer showcase, and it was about some general tires. And you run these things through a litany of tests. Tires are huge when it comes to any enthusiast, whether, doesn't matter what segment of the automotive space that you like, but especially the off-road market. And people are going to be very critical if you're not to the point and honest.
Right.
What are some of the things that you do to these tires to really test them and give people a good review?
When I have the means, I like to take, a vehicle with such and such tires. I like to take it out to somewhere like Ocotillo Wells. It's kind of far, but it pays off because it's remote. So you're not like constantly having to deal with like people running around. There's tons of places to go. So you can go there. I've been there probably a dozen times, and there's probably places I still haven't been. Like, it's just that huge. And then on top of that, it offers a wide variety of terrain types like sand, gravel. They have like deep washes where you can just go full bore and just send it and see how it does. You can do hill climbs, you can do hill descents. Shy of like snow and mud, it's one of the most varied places I know of that I can go to anytime I want and just see how this thing does, whether it's a truck or a tire.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of those times that you were out in Ocotillo, you kind of ran into a little bit of a hairy situation where I think you were out of gas or something. What happened?
So I was driving the Tundra, the blue Tundra. I think this was the 2019. And I'd taken it out there and I decided to see how it would do on the wash. I want to say it was the San Joaquin wash. And so I just like got in the wash and I just followed it. Basically, I just picked which direction I wanted to go and I just took it off. And I just kept driving and I was just like going pretty high speed and I was like having a blast. And sooner or later, I just like got to a point where I was like, man, I'm way the hell out here, like in the sticks. Like, this place is already the sticks. I'm in the sticks of the sticks. It's just like way far gone from the main road. So I start like driving around trying to get like a bearing on where I'm at, and nothing is familiar. Like, this is a completely new area I've been to. And for whatever reason, I didn't just like do a 180 and just come back the way I came. I guess I like got on the wash and then I got off at some point and just like drove in like a circle and, basically spun myself around and got lost. But yeah, that is the truth of it. I did pretty much get lost out there. And it was like, I want to say it was during daylight savings, so the sunlight wasn't going to be out for very long. And I think it was like 4 o'clock, and I could see the sun setting. And I like look around in the truck, and I'm like, okay, David, survival mode. Like, what do you have? You have a half a bottle of water. You got maybe a couple strips of beef jerky. Like, can you survive the night here if you get stuck out here, if you run out of gas or something bad happens? But I just like put that out of my brain and I just focused on like, okay, look at the sat nav that's on the Tundra, and thank you, Toyota, for the sat nav. But look at where that's telling you where you're pointing, and just point the front of the truck towards the freeway. You're gonna hit the freeway eventually. Like, it'll take you a while, and it did. But that's basically what got me out of there, was just like being able to see the bird's eye view where I was at, and accurate GPS satellites.
Well, hell, man, if that is not a fantastic review for Toyota and the Tundra,
I probably was too embarrassed to admit it in the story, but yeah, that's the truth of the matter, is that I did pretty much get lost in Ocotillo, and there, but for the grace of GPS, go I.
Dude, so I know that you hunkered down and you said the obstacle is the way, and you were intrepid on your trail and you found the highway. But at any point, did you find yourself in a Bear Grylls type scenario where you thought, maybe I'm gonna have to drink my own? No, yeah, no. Okay.
Well, how did I know that was coming?
Piers Morgan, no. No, I don't know. I don't think that even crossed my mind, man. I was just like, I was just worried about like either A, running out of gas, which would have been terrifying and bad, or B, running out of gas and starving to death with no way to get home. I probably had my cell phone and I probably could have called somebody, but I don't know. It's the desert. Cell phone signals aren't really conducive to the desert.
Well, off-road extreme journalist lost in Ocotillo Desert is a hell of a headline. I think that article would have done fantastic for you.
It would have. I don't know. I feel bad even admitting it, but not one of my prouder moments.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. I think that could probably happen to anybody, but I'm glad you're here to do it today.
I'm glad I'm here too.
To your level of dedication to doing these reviews, man, you were out there reviewing. Was it the tires or the Tundra?
It was the Tundra. It was. I can't ever forget that Tundra because it was like grabber blue, which is one of my favorite colors, and like the Tundra itself was just kind of boring because it was just like the 10th year of that same body style, I think, and it was just why even bother making another Tundra if you're just gonna like pump another one out? But it's still a capable truck. It still has decent, stuff. It's just not up to snuff with like what's come out of Detroit lately,
Yeah, well, I guess you answered my next question. I was going to say, who does trucks better? I know that you're a big Toyota fan. You've had like
I'm born and bred Toyota. Breaks my heart how stale they've gotten over the years, but it's the truth.
Yeah, well, so what makes you say that? Because you reviewed that one, and then shortly after that, you did the Ram Rebel, I believe, right?
Yep. I thought the Rebel was, miles better than the Tundra, in my opinion, just in terms of like, I think the price was better. I'm not sure on that, but I'm pretty sure like the price was better for a Rebel than it was for like a Tundra TRD Pro. And just in terms of like the way it feels to be in like the cockpit and like you're driving and like the layout of everything, it feels a lot newer than it does on a Tundra. A lot more inspired and like keeping up with the times, as it were. There's just a lot of ways that truck superseded the Tundra, in my opinion, just in terms of like the driving experience mainly.
Interesting. Do they differ as far as like suspension geometry or anything like that, or are they both independent rear? How are they set up?
I'm pretty sure the Ram and the Tundra both use solid rear axles. I believe most trucks like I believe most full-size, even mid-size trucks use live rear axles still, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Well, you said most full size. I know that you had a chance recently to review the new Ranger, right? I believe you got your hands on that. How was that?
The Ford Ranger, I think, is one of the better mid sizes out there. I liked it. It was pretty lacking in terms of power, but just in terms of like feeling like a new Ranger and like, yeah, I got the feeling. I will say though, I think most mid sizes are kind of a joke because they tend to be very close, if not, butting up on the size of a full size. If you look at a Tundra and a Tacoma, the Tacoma is 93% of the dimensions of a Tundra. Like it's practically the same. It's just a little narrower and maybe a little shorter, but the height's the same. And I don't know why you would go for a mid-size unless you like specifically just didn't want to pay the full size kind of price tag, but you'd get more capability out of a full size, which if you're getting a truck, that's part and parcel of why you're getting a truck is capability. So.
Well, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you, and I think that kind of answers it because you'd be hard pressed to buy. I was going to ask you, if you had $30,000 to spend on a new truck from a dealership, right, what would you get? And I don't think you can get a full size truck for that much money.
That's pretty much factually correct. I think most of them start around $40K and they go up from there. So I'd pretty much be confined to a midsize.
And then
I would
you're
probably go
limited
with the
to
Ranger at that point.
the
Just 'cause-
Ranger or the Colorado, right?
Okay, so there's the Colorado, Canyon, technically the Ridgeline,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Ranger, the Gladiator is now a new entry in that market, and the
Well, you're
Tacoma.
not touching a Gladiator for 30. Probably not a Ridgeline either. And definitely not a Tacoma.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty limiting.
I know the Ford starts at like 26K. The rest are all like 28 and up. So
Has the aftermarket been fast to adapt to the Ranger?
I think so. I know there's been some companies that have come out with like shocks for it. I know there are companies that are working on building like bed racks so you can go overlanding with it at some point. Yeah, it's coming into its own in terms of the aftermarket support.
Well, that brings up another point that I was going to ask you about. It seems like overlanding has taken over, dude. Like when we were at SEMA 2019, everything had to do with overlanding as far as trucks were concerned.
Right.
I was, where are all the mall crawlers? And they were outside. Everything had, roof racks and, like bivy tents up top.
Yeah, I think overlanding did just kind of come out of nowhere because last year it was everywhere, but the year before, in 2018, it was maybe one or two. I don't know what exactly led to that, like explosion of just like everything has to be overlanding now, but I think part of it came from like the social media side of it, like Instagram and YouTube. You had places like Expedition Portal. They've become kind of like a big name in terms of like video content for the overlanding segment. And on top of that, a bunch of tent companies just said, hey, we'll make a tent for your truck if you can find a rack for it. And some will say, well, I have both a tent and a rack for your truck, so I'm a one-stop shop. So it kind of became like the new status symbol to show like how elite you are and how much money you can throw at your vehicle. So you can now have like a hot shower system and a fridge and a ladder and a tent and an awning. And it's like that scene out of a Goofy movie where he like pushes the button and the RV just like explodes into like a basketball court and like a bowling alley and all that shit. Yeah. It's become it's just turned into its own peeing contest at that point, and just like seeing who can outfit the most stuff on it. Not to denigrate it. I think overlanding as a segment is awesome. I think more people should get into it. I personally would love to have like an overland kind of Tacoma or like a Gladiator, even a Ranger. Hell, if I could find a way to like turn my stupid 2001 Explorer into an overlander, that'd be cool. But yeah, I like overlanding. I think it's cool. It has its merits.
To your point, I like it too. I think it's cool, but I'm of the opinion that I think we're going to run into a situation where, we joke about these mall crawlers, these lifted trucks that never see dirt or off-road. All they see is pavement. I think we're going to end up seeing a lot of overland trucks that are kitted, like shovels on the back and roof racks and like all this stuff. And the owner's probably never been camping, which I don't really like that. But I mean, hey, whatever, it's your money. But
as long as it like builds, envy in other people and it keeps the passion alive, I'm all for it. So whether you take your vehicle out and off-road it, or if you don't, you have, I wouldn't say equal weight in my eyes, but I won't like tell you, hey, get out of my fandom kind of thing. Like you enjoy what you enjoy. I enjoy what I enjoy. I wish you would take your nice truck out and like go plow through mud, but I get that you don't want to do that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, I suppose I'm an outsider looking in. You're an insider. But that brings up an interesting question. You're talking about your Explorer and like, oh, it'd be cool to turn into an overlander. Can you build a budget overlander? Because it seems like a rich kids club.
It is kind of a rich kids thing, but you know, you have to think that a lot of people, the way they build their vehicles is piece by piece, and they don't really sell it. They don't sell it. They don't like boast about it until it's finished or it's almost finished, kind of deal. So like, it wouldn't be uncommon for someone just to get a roof rack to start and then wait until the money comes around and now they can afford a tent, and then wait till the money comes around and now they can afford a high lift jack and like roto packs and all this other stuff. Yeah, I think overlanding is just like any other kind of build approach. You just have to work with what you have financially, and some of that's going to be either ingenuity, like you learn to weld your own tracks that you can like use to recover your vehicle. Like you don't need to get like the Max Tracks, you know, $1,000 plastic ones. You can probably fabricate your own and have it be just as effective. People are going to treat it with any kind of ingenuity and find a solution that works for them.
Yeah, you have some experience in that arena, right? You went on the Gambler last year, and it was akin to maybe not overlanding per se, but like you were definitely camping and you're on the road.
Exactly. I think that's a perfect kind of segue, because we were camping and we weren't in very fancy, like we were in bottom of the barrel cars that you would practically leave at a junkyard. Like I was in a stripped out Fiero, no glass, just like pure wind rushing every time we took it out for a drive. And I loved like every minute of it. It was crazy.
Did you have goggles on, like a dog in a sidecar?
I didn't. I had sunglasses, dude. That's all I had. Like I should have bought goggles. I had earplugs for my hearing because I was afraid I was gonna like get like tinnitus after that 8-hour drive down to Southern Oregon. But man, it was a thrill. It was awesome. Dude, we finally got there. We just set up tents, and that was how we camped.
Those guys get so creative and just crazy with their builds. What was like one car that was really memorable while you were out there? The first one that pops in your head.
Well, the first one that pops into my head, the USS Compensator, I thought was hilarious. It was like a stretch limo with like Longhorn horns on the front of it, and it had like a monster truck chassis, and it was just a stretch limo, and people would just like hang out of like the sunroof in the back and just like, you know, have fun. And I was just like, that is Gambler 500 in a nutshell. It's like some clapped out limousine. Nobody wanted it. And then some guy just said, I'm going to build a chassis that puts that thing on like, you know, 4 feet or 6 feet of suspension and just like drive it around Oregon and have everybody like have a good time.
Now, that was in 2019. Did they do a Gambler in 2020, like with COVID going on?
Yeah, they did. This year they practiced, you know, the social distancing and all the safety procedures. I didn't get to go this year, unfortunately, but from what I hear, it was another one for the history books. I wish I could have gone.
That begs the question, David. When are we going to see an ORX off-road Xtreme, for those of you who aren't initiated, Gambler build? We want to see it.
We'll work on it. We'll get something going. Right now, we got a project in the works that's kind of gamblery because it's a Chevy Avalanche, which I'm sure most people have just kind of been like, whoa, why would you work on one of those? And this thing's like kind of a beater. But we're going to like totally fix it up and give it like a brand new V8. And Greg at Engine Labs is working with me on that. And we're also going to give it like a new rear end, some new tires, cage, new suspension. It's going to be just a killer pre-runner by the time it's finished. Which should be really cool. Calling it Project Resurrection. So
there you go. Hey, you guys at home who are watching, listening, ignoring, whatever, drop us a comment in the comments section below and let us know if Off-Road Xtreme should build a Gambler build and what they should build. David, moving on. There was a particular car that you wanted, or excuse me, truck that you wanted to talk about. And it's like on everybody's mind right now because it just dropped. And I do want to talk about that. But before we get there, like the big thing this year was the Bronco. Can we talk about the Bronco for a second?
Absolutely.
Cool. So I know that you've done some editorial covering the Bronco. I'm pretty much everybody has done some editorial covering the Bronco. What's your take on it in a nutshell, real quick?
In a nutshell, I love it. I want it. I want some more of it. I think it's cool. It's going to be a great, new entry into the SUV market, which has gotten kind of stale. It's just been like the 4Runner and I guess the Wrangler, if you consider that an SUV, over these past few years. And there hasn't barely been anything that's been solid rear axle, 4-wheel drive, and like marketed that way. And now we have it. So I'm super stoked for the Bronco, and I want a 2-door in grabber blue with a soft top. Ford, if you're listening, give me, please, please. Yeah, I love the Bronco. I think the design looks cool. The EcoBoost is a little, but
yeah, you're going to give me.
Everyone loves the EcoBoost sooner or later. They have to, or they can't love Ford anymore.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And so I guess you kind of answered my next question, but dude, why no V8? The Bronco, they made a Bronco, and they made the littler Bronco, the Bronco 2, if you will, but no V8.
Man. You'd think they could have like shifted some cars around just to make Cafe, and then like give the Bronco like a 302. Yeah, the EcoBoost. Ford just has to keep pimping that engine no matter what. The Ford GT got it. The Mustang has it now. The F-150 had it. Still has it. I dread the day that they're gonna like try and shove it in like a Super Duty and say like, oh, it still has like the same torque as a diesel, and like, no.
Well, Greg posted the other day a meme on Engine Labs, and it said it's 2020, 300 horsepower isn't impressive anymore. I think most people are of that school of thought. So I don't know, Ford, if you're listening, come on. Literally everybody wants just make one. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I mean, honestly, they should do it on the Raptor too, but that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah, but the Raptor has kind of proven itself without it, right? I know
it has.
The first gen.
People still crave like the status symbol of it. They still love like it's basically, a pre-runner that you can get from the factory. Like they love the idea of that, and they'll keep buying that idea as whether or not it bears fruit or not.
Well, speaking of the Raptor, it hasn't had like any competition until now with the Ram Rebel TRX.
And that thing, I think, if they market the crap out of it, will overtake the Raptor. In my opinion.
If there's one thing that Dodge is good at, it's stuffing a lot of horsepower into things that probably aren't supposed to have that much horsepower. And if there's another thing that they're really good at, it's marketing. So Ford, watch out. That begs the question, though, where are you, Chevy? Where are you?
Trail Boss.
I know that they have the Trail Boss, but let's be real. And you guys know me. I love Chevy. I'm a Chevy guy. Not to say that I don't like the others, but we all have our leanings. But with the Trail Boss is little more than some like Rancho shocks and like a body lift or something, right?
I think it has like a skid plate. It's got a 2-inch lift. I'm looking at some specs. It looks like it has a automatic locking rear differential. That's pretty standard for most trucks these days. Yeah, it's nothing super special, I would say. It doesn't like visually hit me the way a Raptor does or like this TRX does.
I think the Trail Boss is a fantastic looking truck. I know that there's been a lot of critics who have said that the new generation of Silverado and Sierra aren't great looking. I happen to think they're fantastic looking. But that's not where it's lacking for me. It's like in the performance. Like, I believe you can get it with the 6.2, which is, nothing to sneeze at. It's a, healthy engine, but I don't know, better suspension, more premium interior. It's pretty basic, and it hasn't taken anything away from the Raptor. That's clear. But
Yeah.
anyways, I know some people have alluded to GM possibly making something to be on par with the new TRX and the Raptor, but that remains to be seen. David, we talked a little bit about midsize trucks a moment ago, and you mentioned the truck that I'm going to ask you about. Is the Ridgeline a truck? The 2021 refresh has it looking a little better.
Family. If you threaten to kill my family, I'll say it's a truck. But like outside of that, I'm not gonna go to bat for that thing. It has by default a front wheel drivetrain, which is like completely against the idea of like towing and why you would get a truck. You can get it with an all-wheel drive, but it's still dependent on like a transaxle up front sending power to the rear. I don't get the logic. I get that it's like Honda and they had to have like something truckish to like fill that hole in there.
Who is buying those things though? Like who's buying them?
Honda fans get them. And I guess people that just love the feel of driving like a car that has a pickup bed over like a truck with like a live rear axle. I've driven a Ridgeline, and I will say it's like very comfortable to drive. It's extremely just smooth and just doesn't care about, much kind of like road terrain deformities that the way a truck would with its suspension setup. But other than that, I don't think it's it's worthy of being called a truck. At best, it's a pickup.
Okay. Yeah, a Ute maybe. And Ute. I'm not opposed to those because I love El Caminos, man. They're awesome. But yeah, I don't know. The Ridgeline just misses the mark for me. But I suppose if you're a Honda fan and you want to tow your dirt bikes or something, or throw your dirt bikes in the bed,
right?
Hey, more
now
power
you have
to
your Honda dirt bike. You have your Honda truck. You might as well live in Honda.
Exactly.
Why don't you marry it?
Although I don't see a lot of young kids, driving to the motocross track on the weekend in their Honda Ridgeline. It's not happening. I do see a lot of them driving Tundras though. Anyways, David, I want to ask you about a truck that you've been wanting to talk about since we got on here, and that is the new hybrid 2021 Power Boost F-150. What's going on with that thing?
Yeah, the Power Boost is an interesting truck. From what I can gather, it's one of the first trucks to have a fully hybrid drivetrain. So it can either run completely on gas or run on electric or a mix of both, which is new for the truck segment. The big thing I think will win over a lot of truck people, at least in terms of like the constructions, contractor people, it'll feature high voltage, high kilowattage outlets in the bed, so you could like power some heavy duty equipment. Like I think they mentioned you could power like a welder, like a welding machine from the bed.
It's gonna have 220. That's awesome.
Is that what it is? Because it did say 2.4 and 7.2 kilowatt. So I don't know what kind of power outage that would be, but it made it seem like it could power heavier duty tools.
Well, yeah, in a house, your normal socket's 110, and then like your washer and dryer, your refrigerator, things that draw a lot of amperage, are typically 220.
Okay.
So, but I'm not sure how that carries over into the automotive realm. I probably should. But that's interesting. That's interesting. So a bunch of power outlets in the bed. That makes it very utilitarian. What about the rest of the drivetrain? What does that look like as far as like power output and things like that?
The power output looks like north of 350 horsepower and I think 470 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty good. That's based off the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. They made it sound like you can get this hybrid with other engine configurations like the 5.0, the 2.7. I'm not sure how much that would affect the horsepower torque output, but just based on the 3.5 liter numbers, it sounds like you can get pretty good results. I don't know. I just think moving into like an electric drivetrain, I'm going to miss hearing an engine sound, but the trade-off of like instant torque is pretty cool for towing, provided they can make those batteries last a long time. So I think it's still years away before we get to a point where electric trucks can meet the demands that we place on like a gas truck or even a diesel truck. But that's just one more hurdle for people to, go over. And we've done so many in the past. So.
Well, if they're ever going to give us a V8 powered Bronco, they have to make room somewhere, and I suppose this is a good place to start. Although Ford they do seem to be pretty forward thinking in that regard. Like they want to be at the forefront of the electric vehicle market as far as domestic vehicles are concerned. Right. And I'm all for it, man. I think it's cool. I don't like the Mach-E still. So Ford people,
I hate it. I think it's sad.
No, but I think it's cool. Even though like people, like truck people, even more than car people, I think are very set in their ways, and they're very myopic when it comes to brands, and they don't like change. So it'll be interesting to see how this bodes for Ford. Greg, do you know anything about the drivetrain specifically? Like, is that an adaptation of a 3.5 that's in something else?
Not a clue.
The 3.5 is the one that they started in 2011. They've kind of like honed it over the years, like expanded the bore a little, messed with the stroke some, just tweaked it, tuned it. It's gone up in horsepower and torque as you would expect. So it's based on that original one that they rolled out in like 2011.
Is it only in the trucks, or do we see that in any of their other? Well, they don't really have passenger vehicles anymore, really, other than the Mustang. But is it something that was in other vehicles before?
The 3.5 or just the EcoBoost in general?
No, the 3.5.
I think the 3.5 was in the Taurus show originally, like way back when.
Okay.
And then it got moved into the F-150 when they started promoting EcoBoost back around 2010.
Interesting. Were you already at PAM in 2010?
No, I was still in college.
Okay. Yeah, that was 10 years ago, man.
10 years ago, man.
David, what gets you excited about in the off-road world for the coming year, 2021?
What gets me excited is the Bronco, because that's going to go on sale in spring. So I'll finally have my hands on one come March or April. So I'm excited about that. I'm kind of interested in what Toyota is going to work on next, because so many of their truck and SUV models have just like gone past their prime, and they have to be working on something at this point. Like, they can't keep selling the same truck for the 13th year. They haven't even updated the 4Runner since 2009, really.
Maybe the next one will tow 2 space shuttles.
That'd be insane. No, but I'm waiting to hear what Toyota's going to do. So fingers crossed it's something awesome, and it just like brings them back to like on top of the game of, running the truck world. And then, let's see what Chevy does for this whole hopped up truck segment that Ram and Ford are duking it out in right now. And I'll just continue to stay aware of the midsize truck segment and wonder why people buy them, but continue to appreciate them and probably get one myself in a few years. So,
well, David, what can people go check out on Off-Road Xtreme right now, and what do they have to look forward to in the future?
So right now you can go check out my recent article where I compared off-roading, both bad and good. It's called Chick's Corner, video game off-roading from good to bad. I look at spin tires and Death Stranding and compare them, what one does right and what the other does completely wrong in terms of showcasing what off-roading's like. I'm really proud of that one.
Well, hold on. I don't want to gloss over that, David.
Okay.
And I don't want you to give away too much of the article. People go check it out. Check out offroadextreme.com. But David, I'm curious about that myself because I've never played a video game that got it right. Granted, it's been some years, but
Sure.
Tell me about these video games.
So one, Spin Tires is like focused completely around replicating what it's like to drive off-road, especially in like really muddy, deep soaked mud that you'd find in like Russia or Ukraine. The guy who designed it, I think, is from Russia, and he had some experience like driving these logging trucks through this really disgusting mud because he captured it so perfectly. So that game is more like a simulator. It's really designed to like give you the feeling of, okay, you're stuck in the middle of this forest. You have to get those logs on that trailer over to this camp, and you don't have like a set amount of time to do it. You just have to do it. So you might have to like winch yourself out. You might have to call in another truck, drive this truck, hitch the truck, tow them out of the water or the muck or whatever. You might have to like flip over a truck if it's flipped over and get it righted again. And the game just, for all intents and purposes, is like a, perfection of like how to do it right. And then on the other side, there's Death Stranding, which is a lot headier of a video game, and it's more like story focused, and it's like not really about off-roading, but it is, because the way it's set is like it's the United States, but there's been like cataclysmic events that have like changed the terrain forever. So like where there used to be freeways and surface streets, now it's like mountains and valleys and canyons and rivers, and it's just like an off-roading paradise. And that's where it stops, because once you get in a truck in that game, it all sucks. It sucks, and I hate it.
It sounds like a good concept.
And they can't get the feel of it right. Like the tires are slippery. The suspension of the truck is so wonky. It just doesn't want to like go over any obstacles. And I don't know. It's just it's a frustrating experience versus Spin Tires, where it's like relaxing and rewarding.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. The more and more these video games are developed, and not just driving games, but all video games, it seems like they're becoming more like a simulator as opposed to a video game. So that's really cool. What did you get from the one game that you didn't get from the other, as far as feedback that made it more realistic?
So in terms of Spin Tires, the feedback is just like immersion is what it comes down to. When I'm driving a vehicle in that game, yeah, sometimes it's a little unfair in how quickly I can get stuck in mud, and I'll be like, but at least I can winch myself out. Like the game gives you a winch, and it like, there's a set distance that you can winch to. So if you can't winch, which is realistic, like you can't winch something that's like 500 feet away. It has to be like 30 to 50 at most. So if you can't winch yourself out, you have to start over at the garage, pick another truck, and then drive out to that truck that you left stranded, winch that truck out, then drive them both back to the garage. And along the way, you might have to cross a river, and there's a chance that you might drive too deep into the water because you picked a bad line, and now your engine starts hydrolocking, and it's like, wow, this is heavy stuff. Like this is realistic, and then Death Stranding, man, if I try to like even just jump my truck off of like two ramps that are like facing each other, and I'm going like full pedal to the metal, like I know this truck should just like fly. And for some reason, it'll just fly and like hit the cliff and then just like fall into the canyon, and then I'll just be stuck. And I'm like, that sucks. Or like I'll try to like ford a river, and if there's an obstacle in the river, the suspension is already fully extended, and I can't like jump myself or like rock myself over the obstacle, I'm stuck again. I'm frustrated. I'm beyond frustrated at this point. I'll try driving up a hill, and this is the worst part. Like, these tires, they just cannot grip for the life of them, and it just drives me insane how I'll just try driving up a hill, and the thing just slips and slides and just goes all over the place.
So what are you playing these games on?
PC.
Okay, interesting. Are they available on console as well?
Yep. I think Death Stranding, I know, is on PlayStation 4, and I think Spin Tires is on all platforms. It came out in 2014, so it should be on all platforms by now. They've had like 2 sequels to it too. So.
Well, you're talking a lot about like mudding and things like that, and I know that Off-Road Extreme covers a wide variety of those segments, not just mudding, crawling, racing, covers everything. For you in particular, what's your favorite arena to go trucking?
I would say my favorite is probably rock crawling. It's the most fun you can have at 5 miles an hour. And I've been to Moab. I've been to, Big Bear Mountain. I haven't been to Rubicon yet, but I want to someday. There's just something really rewarding about just taking it slow and steady and just overcoming something that looked impassable, that's like, a staircase of rocks that are like 4 feet tall. Like, that's going to be hell to get through, but you get through it. Like, low gearing, put the lockers on, get a spotter. You might have to go back down, try a different line, gun it here, let off the gas here, turn to the right. I don't know. It's very like the struggle is its own reward kind of deal. I don't know how to describe it.
No, definitely, dude. And it takes so much skills that I think you have to develop only through experience. Just going out and doing it, because you're not going to know a lot of those tricks. I've seen guys, do stuff that I would have never thought of, and it's like, that's a no-brainer, but you probably wouldn't have thought of it had you never been in that position before.
Exactly.
So that's cool, David. One more time, where can people check out more of your articles, your social, and everything else?
So offroadextreme.com is where we have all of our articles and videos. We have Facebook and Instagram. Just look up Off-Road Extreme. Make sure it's with an X, no E in front of Extreme. And that's where you'll find all our great content.
Fantastic, David. Everybody make sure to go check out David's review of those 2 video games. And what can people look forward to in the future, David, real quick?
So in the future, we'll have some installs. We're working on an install with Prothane bushings, and we're also going to do this really cool one for an F-150. That's going to be happening this weekend. We're going to be doing intake, exhaust, just kind of giving it a refresh and doing a before and after driving impression of like what it is before, what it is now. And then on Sunday, I have a feature shoot that's going to let me shoot a Tacoma, I believe it's an overland new Tacoma. And I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, buddy. There you have it, everybody. Go check it out, offroadextreme.com. David, thank you so much for making time to do this, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Glad I finally made it.
I know that this won't be the last time that we talk to you, because I'll be reaching out the next time we need an off-road expert. David, thanks again, man. We'll talk to you soon.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So there you have it, Greg. David Chick, everyone. He's over there on Off-Road Extreme doing his thing. Dude, I always like to talk to him, not only because he's hilarious and his antics around the office are very funny, but just because he's like so knowledgeable about his sector, right? Like just the off-road community, the off-road market. He has his finger on the pulse of what's going on over there. And so anytime something new comes out, or anytime I see something about, a new truck or whatever, and I want to know about it, I ask David, and he's got the answers.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, man. Off-roading something that I haven't got a chance to do too much of myself. Like I've hit the occasional trail. I've always owned trucks. I love trucks, but it's something I'd like to do a lot more. And if there's anybody that you guys at home want us to have on and talk to in the off-road community, please let us know, and we'll reach out to them. Greg, what's going on Engine Labs, bro?
This week we actually have some cool stuff. I did a quick little article on engines that have lots of cylinders, but not a lot of displacement. Everybody thinks Formula One. I mean, obviously, because those things are anywhere from, V8s to V12s over the years, and they're like anywhere from 1.5 to 3 liter. So they're tiny, right?
Right.
I don't want to give it away, but there is something that would make a Honda engine look big, but it has 16 cylinders. So that's one of the ones on the list. But it's really cool. It was a different way of thinking, and you can't argue with the horsepower that some of these were making even back in, the 60s and even 50s.
I'm thinking, is it made by Subaru?
Nope.
Interesting.
No, it's.
I guess you guys are just gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: a 1980s Formula One engine comes in about the middle.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. And then we have a cool one that our readers will probably really enjoy with Engineering Explained, synthetic oil for your hot rod and for your older car. I say hot rod. He says older car. And kind of tackles some of the myths behind, don't use synthetic in your older engine, stuff like that. So
okay.
that should be live by the time this episode's live.
Very cool. Right on, man. Well, let's see. On Street Muscle, we had a really cool tech article that just went up. It's about a Proform, a company that makes various parts for small block Chevy, small block Ford, small block Mopar, big block variations as well. They came out with a pretty innovative new radiator solution for people who are looking to do swaps or just replace their OEM equipment, where it has I believe it's a 3 or 4 core radiator, but it has a built-in shroud and a built-in fan, which makes the whole unit really slim, i.e. it's called the Proform Slim Fit Radiator. So we did a tech install article where we dropped that thing into a second-gen Camaro. I believe it's a 78, getting it ready for an LS swap, which you probably don't need a whole lot more room for an LS, but it definitely served to keep things nice and neat under that engine bay.
And but anytime you can add some room, that's a good thing, Definitely. I don't think anybody has ever popped the hood on a vehicle and gone, well, there's just too much room to do work here. Like,
well, I don't know, man.
Short of like an F-350 where you have to stand on a step stool to get over, but that's not because there's so much room in the engine bay. That's just because it's so high up.
I don't know, man. I'm a fan of big blocks. If I see like a C10 or something and I pop the hood. If there's an LS, okay, fine. But if there's like a small block, especially a 305, like the one that's in my C10, I'd like to see a big block in there.
But imagine there's a big block in there, but more room. There's room for activities.
Oh yeah, for sure, of course.
Yeah, nobody's going to complain about that, right?
Yes,
so
that is true. But that's a pretty cool article. Go check that one out. Of course, we have a bunch of features. There's a twin turbo LSX powered 68 Camaro up on there right now that you guys can go check out. Really cool Tri-5. There's a bunch of features on the website right now. So go check out streetmusclemag.com. Check out enginelabs.com. Obviously, check out all of our social medias. You can find us right here on Facebook every Friday at noon for the RodCAST. But other than that, we're always pumping out great content, cool photos, original photos, funny memes, all the stuff that you car guys like and girls. So check it out.
For sure.
Greg, today was a fun episode. Next week we have another great episode for everybody. As always, you guys drop us a comment in the comment section below and let us know who you want to see next, who we should reach out to, who we should be talking to, and what we should be talking about. The comment section is always live. You guys are funny. I love reading the comments after these episodes. So keep them coming. Other than that, I think you guys can catch us next week, Friday, noon, Pacific time, right here on Facebook.